In today's Leeds news, Leeds appoint new COO, Max Wober transfer fee revealed, and press conference reaction. Hey folks, Jay here on the 27th of October, Friday, 27th of October. There will be a podcast tonight and a match review video will go out tonight with LUFC stats, so that will be done this evening. So keep an eye out for a very short match preview video tonight, as well as the podcast, which will be available for members tonight. And then the podcast will be available to everybody else tomorrow morning as well, if you want to take that over the weekend. Cracking into the news, there's not a massive amount of stuff. We are going to cover the press conference reaction, which hasn't happened just yet, but it will happen in a minute. So I am going to cover off some of the bits before we get to that. And we'll start off with Leeds United appointing a new CAO. The San Francisco 49ers and 49ers Enterprises continue to build the team behind the scenes at Leeds United and add more people into key roles to allow Leeds to be successful on and off the pitch. They've continued with this news today of Leeds appointing a new COO to the club. Maury Eisenberg has been announced as the new COO, Chief Operating Officer, and he will oversee commercial revenue and business opportunities and initiatives for Leeds United going forward. Maury will also sign on to Leeds on a full-time basis and is moving to the city to live on a full-time basis as well, which will give Leeds two major roles back in the city. The CEO with Angus Kinnear and the COO now in Maury Eisenberg's realm. He will also lead longer-term strategic initiatives. They include the initial setting up of the stadium redevelopment, which has been talked about and is due to be announced pretty soon. Maury has over 20 years worth of senior commercial leadership experience. He was involved working with Tesla, as well as being involved with the San Francisco 49ers as well. And he oversaw the initial strategic development of the Levi Stadium as well. So has experience in this bracket and has experience working with Parag and the rest of the 49ers as well. So best of luck to Maury Eisenberg. It's nice to see Leeds continue to building the off-the-field team. It's hugely important to have the proper people off the pitch and on the pitch so everything moves forward at the same pace together. So it's good to see. Good to see, and we'll wish him all the best, and we'll see where that goes. Moving on to the next story. This has been rumours coming out of Germany over the last couple of weeks about certain players that Leeds have out on loan and potential permanent moves away. And Max Wober has come up for a lot of discussion. Last week it was said that Leeds United would want Max Wober back at Ellen Road should they get promoted to Premier League, bearing in mind that if Leeds don't get promoted to Premier League, the loan clauses that are in place right now for the players that are all out on loan will still be active again next summer as well. So it is important to get out there. On the back of that, reports in Germany are continuing to link Max Wober with a permanent exit away from Leeds United. It's said that Gladbach are very, very keen on the impact he's had this year. We spoke about it numerous times on this channel. And they see him as a long-term asset to them as well, and a player that they would like to keep on. Kicker in Germany has also backed this up by saying that Gladbach want to make the move a permanent move as well. And then now, according to Kicker, the potential fee that would be needed to get him away from Leeds United and sign for them on a permanent basis has now finally been revealed. According to Kicker, Leeds will be looking somewhere in the low double-digit million fee bracket. Leeds paid €12 million for the player, which is about £10.5 million for Max Wober, and it looks like Leeds will be looking to recoup pretty much either the exact same fee or anywhere between £10 to £20 million for the player if he was to Leeds. That being said, Leeds have made it clear that they would like to have Max Wober back next season should they get promoted to the Premier League, and see him as a player that can help them in the Premier Division with a full season behind him as well. He's managed to go injury free so far this year. He's having a very, very good season at Gladbach, although Gladbach aren't having a particularly great season. He has been called out several times for his performances there as well. It's another one on the back of the Robin Cox situation. Looks like he's going to stay at Frankfurt on a permanent basis as well. Real Betis wanting to make the Mark Rocket deal a permanent move as well in January, so there could see some movement of players away from Leeds on permanent basis in January, which might free up some funds for Leeds to maybe reinvest in fixing a couple of positions within the team. Although if we get a result of the weekend, that might change how everyone feels about that. So we'll have to wait and see. We are going to take a brief pause here now, and we'll be back after the press conference with the press conference reaction. I'll see you in a sec. The press conference has just finished with Daniel Farke. Just to point out to everybody, there will be a match preview later on this evening with stats, LUFC stats, Andrew Dalton as well, kind of going through the top line things that you need to know, stats coming into the game, form guide, all that kind of stuff from both sides, and injury news from the other side, from Huddersfield as well as from Leeds. So that'll be there. It'll be a short video up there later on this evening. You can check that out. But in terms of the press conference, it's just over. Asked about injuries, he was asked specifically about Chris Summerville's shoulder, having some heavy strapping and icing after the game, and he said that he's had this problem since pre-season, and he has been struggling a little bit with the pain. Shoulder injuries take a bit longer to recover from, so there's that. He said he had to have it strapped up. That's one of the reasons why he didn't play against Stoke. He also pointed out that he has had some issues during pre-season and missed parts of pre-season, had cramp during the week, and has had a couple of muscle injuries as well, and that's why he's not playing 3 games in a week. They have to be careful and mind his minutes, but he said he's only a couple of weeks away from being able to play 3 games in a week, so that's positive there. Later on, he was asked about Junior Firpo, Jed Spence, but as their injuries have put into this, Junior is back in team training but not available for this weekend. Jed Spence is doing individual work alongside Stuart Dallas, and he said you're looking at probably about another week, 10 days before Jed Spence is back in team training, and then another probably a week or 2, so probably after the next international break before we see Jed Spence. Keen to get Stuart Dallas back involved in the dressing room as well, knows the leadership skills that he can bring to the group, so he's keen to get him involved as well. Asked about Huddersfield and the derby and there being an extra bit of spice in this game, he said, yeah, look, it's a local derby, there's extra excitement, it creates a special atmosphere and they have to deliver for the fans. He said, are we more motivated because of it? Probably, because it means an awful lot to the people within the club and within the local support as well. And he said Huddersfield going through a bit of a wobble as well at the moment. He said, and they'll want to bounce back with a positive result, which means they're probably likely to be more attacking than they have been so far, and teams that have come to Ellen Road will be. So he said, there'll be an awful lot more in the game. Asked about if he needs to be told about this by the staff and players and brought up to speed, and he said no, it's a local derby, it's football, I understand that. He said people in the club, staff talk about it, so I know exactly what this means to everybody. Talking points were one of the things that came up. Patrick Bamford obviously came up with the situation there about the penalty, about his confidence as well being an issue as well, and has he spoken to Patrick about this? He said they had a very short conversation about the topic. He said it's not a big deal. He said that it's a difficult situation for the player, and he said, but he's an experienced pro. He doesn't need me to tell him what to do or what not to do. He's an experienced pro, and he said he'll learn from this. He's experienced and he'll be okay. He said if he scores the goal, he's a hero. If he misses it, he has to take the disappointment, and that's football, and that's just the way it is. Asked about his style, to spend more time talking to players one-on-one, or how does he do that? He said, again relating to Bamford, he said, look, it often comes down to experience, but you've got to listen to your gut. He said you don't have to go into huge amount of details with every single player. He said he's a believer in the coach picks the penalty taker. And he said they have a list of penalty takers. He doesn't want any talking on the pitch or any arguments on the pitch. He's been clear on that. He said Pirro was Leeds United's penalty taker, but he had been substituted off the park. He said at that point then Jadon Anthony was the next penalty taker, and he had been substituted off the pitch. He said he doesn't like to give substitutes that have gone onto the pitch who haven't played a lot of minutes a chance to overrule the penalty takers list. He said, however, their main penalty takers had gone off the park at that point. All he was left with was 2 defensive midfielders and 2 centre-backs, one of which has never taken a penalty before. He talked about Jorginho Rutter being on the park as well, but he had missed his last penalty, not particularly good penalty, so he wasn't on the list to take them as well. He didn't mention Chris Summerville being on the pitch, but Patrick Bamford obviously, Summerville did want the kick and Bamford took it all. Didn't take it away from Bamford. Bamford insisted he was taking it. But he said, when you go down to that list, he said, look, you don't like giving subs who haven't been involved that much the penalty. He said, but at that stage there was nobody left on the pitch on the list that could take them really, so it fell to Pat. And he said, I can't blame him for taking it. He's backed himself, he's shown confidence to take the kick. He said again, if he misses it, he's a hero. If he doesn't, he has to be able to take the criticism, and he is taking the criticism, getting quite a lot of it as well. So he also then pointed out that chances are the next time this comes around, he will look at maybe the substitutes that have come on a bit differently next time, but also said that probably won't be Pat taking the next penalty, given the misses he's had. He said fresh start though when he came into the club, so he wanted everyone to feel like they had a fresh start, and that included Paddy as well. But he said responsibility will probably go to somebody else. He said, but going forward, we will look at the substitution situation for taking penalties into the future. As for the league table and the 9-point gap between us and Ipswich have a game in hand as well as potentially 12-point gap if they win that. Is that a concern to him? He said no, at this point in the season the table doesn't mean anything to him. He said the table matters at the end of 40 games, nothing before that, 42 games. He said we're third in the league. I think if anyone had offered us that in pre-season, we'd probably bit your hand off for it. I think given the pre-season the way I had gone, I think that's an accurate thing to say. I think we would have been very happy sitting in third. I think most of the frustration is coming out of the fact that Ipswich and Leicester have had record starts to this season. That's That should be the context that this is taken. If any other season, Leeds would be in the mix here. But there's a lot of football left to play. A lot of football. Asked about Sam Byram, his minutes and minding his minutes. He said he's okay. But they'll assess him before the game as they do every week. But he seems to got through the game with very little injuries. Asked about Charlie Creswell, Leo Kjeld and Joe Gallagher not playing an awful lot and why they haven't been involved during 21s. Is there an reason why he's not giving them time in 21s? He's basically said they're competing for game time with the senior squad, and he feels that they've got more beneficial for them to train with the first team than playing anything else. He also pointed out the fact that Charlie Creswell has played a lot of international minutes recently, and we need to be careful with his minutes, bearing in mind that a 17-year-old Archie Gray has played 5 games in the space of 2 weeks, and then Leeds backed that up by playing him at 290 minutes back-to-back again after playing 3 international matches on the bounce. So sometimes the things he says don't line up the same. That makes sense. I don't know if I'm reading more into that than I should be, but sometimes he says things and you're like, well, if you're watching Charlie Creswell's minutes who isn't playing for the first team or the under-21s and only playing international football, surely the same should apply to Archie Gray, who is playing every minute of every game for every team that he's available to play for right now, which is crazy. Asked about the partnership between Pascal Stroke and Joe Rowe, and he said he's very happy with it, but he's more happy with clean sheets and he wants the team to get back to keeping more clean sheets. He said Leeds as a team defend really, really well. Yes, there's a strong partnership from the two of them there, but as a team, Leeds limit opportunities for most teams, which again, I'm not 100% sure we do. Right now, it's the same with the pressing. Leeds, he talks about Leeds press, and the more I watch Leeds playing, the more I don't really ever see a press except from the wing areas. So it's some of the things I wonder about. Not overreacting to the losses, and he said this is important. He said it's normal that when we win, we are excited. It's a passionate club, it's an emotional club, and when we win, when we lose, the world is coming down on us, and the roof is falling, the sky is falling. But he said it's important to stay calm. Let's not get overworked about the good results, and let's not get overreact to bad results. This happens. Teams will go through these. It's a game. It's a league of fine margins. He said, like if you look at a situation of Pat Bamford scores the penalty, Leeds probably win that game 1-0 during the week, and we're talking about 4 wins in a row and we're in a great run of form, and you lose the game and all of a sudden it's the end of the world and everything's terrible and we're not getting promoted. So it's important to keep the fine margins in check. He also said when you look at the league table, last time Leeds got promoted there was 9 losses in the season for Leeds. If you look at the last 2 times he got Norwich promoted, it was 6 and 7 losses. We've lost 2 so far. So he said look, teams will lose games, but he said you go through these phases during a season. It's just important not to have back-to-back losses. That's one of the most important things. Asked about the importance of the experienced leaders in the dressing room. Was interested in the answer to this, see who's in that group and anymore. Basically he said it's important. It's important that those players buy into, because they spend more time with the players in the dressing room and around the ground, and they can pass that information on to the players and push that rhetoric that he wants pushed down to the players from him. He said Liam Cooper and Luke Ayling were the 2 that he called out, were very good in that group and very good in that role that he gives them. And if you look again when Chris Summerville scored the winner against Norwich and ran over, person he runs over to is Luke Ayling. So there's obviously a lot going on there, and it's great to see that as well. But he said the younger players are growing into these roles as well within the club, which is great to see. And he said that it's brilliant to watch their attitude. He goes, the younger players are very self-critical of each other, but he has to make sure that they don't overthink things either, and make sure that they keep a balanced approach to what they're thinking. Asked about getting to grip with the local sentiment towards the club and Leeds itself, he said look, it's very important that we understand the supporters' take on this, because football is for the supporters and they are the most important thing for Leeds. He said his belief is that supporters are more important than any player, than any board member, than any manager, than any club. The supporters are the most important thing, and we have to keep that in mind, that we play for the supporters. So interesting one to see there as well. Asked about does he actually bump into fans now that he's living in the area, and he said he's a human being. He normally has to eat, he has to go shopping, and he said he meets Leeds fans all the time. He said you can feel it in the city when things are going well, and you can feel the pain when it's not going well and we've lost the game. He said we are aware of that and we keep that in mind. And then finally asked about Joe Pirro situation, and he said that Pirro's been watching, one of the journalists said Pirro's been watching Haaland and Alvarez to learn some new tricks, and he said look, in general he's pretty pleased with him, but he's not Erling Haaland, and he's a different kind of player, and it's important that it's great that he's learning new things or trying to learn new things, but he's got to be authentic to who he is as a player. He said he's different. It's a difficult situation for him. The change between Leeds and Swansea, and it's no disrespect to Swansea, but Leeds is a bigger club, bigger expectations, and there's more expected of him. At Swansea, he could be the main man. Everything went through him. He could score 20 goals. But Leeds, he's not the main man. There are other players. He's part of a group, and he has to be able to play to that group. He said he's great Last 2 games he's been a bit quieter, but they know there's more quality to come from him, and it will come from him as well. So pretty much it. Nothing major to come out of that press conference, to be honest with you, but that's what it is, and that's it for today. As I said, bear in mind, keep an eye out tonight for the match preview video. That will be there tonight, and then the podcast will be available for members tonight and for everybody else tomorrow. We're just lining that up right now, so keep an eye out, and I will talk to you probably tonight in the match preview with stats, and then probably back on Monday morning for more Leeds news. Have a great weekend. Let's see if Leeds can fix the slip up during the week and get back to winning ways. Have a great weekend. Talk to you soon. Bye.